The way Alan Flanagan just played has got us asking, all right, Auburn basketball, are we good again?
This is happening in Auburn, Alabama. We're a football school, but we're also an everything school.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. Welcome on into the Locked On Auburn's The Henry Service Company post-game show. Give them a call for all of your HVAC, plumbing, electrical needs. 334-288-2700. Alabama license number 00021. I'm Zach Blackerby. Daryl Dapprich joining me as the Auburn Tigers kind of get their mojo back. We saw it happen at home in the friendly confines of Neville Arena against Arkansas this weekend. They go on the road, Daryl, and do it against an Ole Miss team. Regardless, it's a win on the road in the SEC, 82-73.
Yeah, one of the things you have to do in the SEC is, especially with the kind of home court advantage that Auburn has, is hold service at home and then try to steal some on the road. Auburn did such a great job of that last year. It's why they won the league, is because they had the best road record in the SEC. So don't in any way, shape, or form, just because Ole Miss, for those out there that want to say Ole Miss is 0-3 in the league, it is very difficult
0-4 now.
To go on the road, officiating changes, all that. And look, there have been some good Auburn teams, really good Auburn teams, that have gone on the road, and Kermit Davis found a way to beat Auburn and Bruce Pearl. So that's why this is important. Should have been, for all entailed purposes, a double-digit game. I think it's big. In fact, I think it's humongous that Auburn goes on the road after what they did at home Saturday. You don't want to let down. That's the absolutely last thing you want to have. You don't want to give back what you just gained on Saturday. And Auburn made sure they didn't do that tonight. That's why I think it's a big win.
Yeah, and I think the folks who stepped up, and we've seen it now several games in a row when you talk about Alan Flanagan. See a few folks in the comments saying looks like 2021 Alan Flanagan. And boy, is that music to a lot of Auburn fans' ears. You look at what he did tonight, and you and I were texting with Clay during the game, and it's like Alan Flanagan's the best player on the floor right now throughout the game. 15 points, 6 of 12 shooting, played 34 minutes. A lot of that had to do with the way he was playing. A lot of that had to do with Chris Moore going down. We'll talk about that impact in a second. Plus minus of 11 led the team in that regard. I mean, there's just so much to like about what Alan Flanagan was able to do on both sides of the floor, Daryl Dapprich.
Absolutely, Zach. And I think the key is, confidence is such a strange, fragile little thing. I think once he got a game under his belt that he played at the level he was used to playing at, and then he stacked those games, 2 games, now 3 games. And look, he probably goes into the starting lineup, unfortunately, like you mentioned, with the Chris Moore injury. Maybe he's not looking over his shoulder now for that quick hook because of the whistle, because Moore's not. So I think he's settling in, and I think it just took one really good game where he felt like himself to springboard him. And Zach, once that happened, like I said, I think he's stacking games now. And I think his confidence is just growing and growing each game, and that's going to be big for all. If Auburn gets this kind of play out of Alan Flanagan, they could end up having a pretty special year, in my opinion.
Yeah, him playing, I think we all kind of counted him out. But all of a sudden, if you get Alan Flanagan playing to the level that he's capable of, and not even Daryl to the level where NBA draft writers were mocking him to the first round. He doesn't even have to get to that point. But if he could be a guy that averages double digits, it could be somewhat efficient with his play and bring some effort on the defensive side of the floor. With kind of the landscape of what's happening with the SEC, it could totally put Auburn as a top 4 team in the conference, with Kentucky just absolutely plummeting. We may get a chance to talk about that later. But, he scored 15, and then I don't have his numbers in front of me from last game, but correct me if I'm wrong here. He's putting up these numbers without being outrageously efficient, which I think it's sustainable. Like tonight, he's 6 of 12. I think with the type of shots that Alan Flanagan's been taking, that's sustainable. And that's good for the Tigers.
I'm going to tell you something that's even more important than what you're seeing from the points he scored. To me, a lot of it's been about body language and attitude with Allen Flanigan. Let's just be honest, okay? He went in, he was having a great game halfway through the second half. He went in to drive to the basket and got blocked. He fell down to the baseline, did not sulk, did not pout, busted his butt back down the court and got a backside steal to create a transition basket the other way for Auburn. That, to me, is more telling than the 15 points.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you. I think you could say similar things with Wendell Green, right? And we've got a few comments here talking about how, back-to-back good games from Wendell. Wendell led Auburn. I think he led everyone in points. No, Morrell had 24. Wendell had 23. So just about. And, 5 of 15 from the floor. Like, you look at that and that's not great. But he shoots it 15 times, scores 23 points. Like, yeah, okay, you're a perfect 11 of 11 from the charity stripe. I mean, that's incredible, right? As I say that, Noah Sherman says free throws were nice tonight. Yeah, and there's no question about it. From the charity stripe, Auburn was 18 of 22. If you do that, Auburn's going to be in a good spot moving forward. But in 33 minutes, Wendell Green getting it done, scoring 23. I say it time and time again. You agree, Daryl? Wendell Green is the engine that makes Auburn go. And we've seen the good examples of that, right, with Arkansas this past weekend, right. Ole Miss tonight, Tuesday night, and we saw the bad examples just about a week ago when they went to Athens, Georgia, and lost to the Bulldogs.
Zach, you ask any coach, and I feel like this is pretty standard, what you want out of your point guard play. You want a great assist to turnover ratio. You want somebody that distributes the basketball and then takes care of the basketball. You want somebody that I think can get downhill and get to the rim. I think a three-point shooter from the point guard position as opposed to the two guard position is a bonus. Mm-hmm. What Wendell Green did tonight epitomized what a point guard should do because he got to the line 11 times by driving to the hole and knock down. You want that from your point guard. If you look up in the stat sheet and your point guard's at the free throw line 10 times, he's doing his job as long as he's not turning it over and still finding other people to distribute the basketball. Again, three-point shooting traditionally is not where you don't get that out of your point guard. That's a bonus. With Wendell, Auburn's gotten that. So I think more traditionally tonight he played the point guard role, and that really paid off at the free throw line for him.
Yep. Tiff with a very profound comment says, Daryl is the man, my GOAT. I don't think there's any arguing that. Daryl with a nice shout out there. Janai Broom with another nice performance, and he, like Allen, coming off injuries, of course, of different degrees and different levels of confidence being impacted. But Janai Broom, over the last 4 games, maybe can go even back farther than that, Daryl, he's looked like the guy that we thought we were getting from Morehead State. And it took him some time to kind of settle, but all of a sudden, a kind of quiet 19 points. You love going 8 from 13. He didn't shoot any threes tonight, but in 30 minutes, he was solid, kind of quiet, yet explosive double-double there.
Well, a lot of his points were early, and I think that's why it seems a little bit quiet because we remember the last thing we saw. He had 7 of the first 10 or 11 points for Auburn. Did a great job with his back to the basket. I love the up and under drop step move that he's starting to do going to the left hand. Almost unstoppable because he's doing it so quick. And I think early in the year he couldn't do that because of the ankle issue. But that drop step really, when he makes that first move back to the basket, is big. Continuing to play good defense, rebounding the basketball. Flanigan took over the second half, and so did Wendell. And I think that's what's great about what this game tonight is that Broom carries you early, and then in the second half, 2 other people stepped up, and he didn't need to, so you can distribute some of the scoring load.
Yep, that's right. All right, what does this win mean for Auburn? Because I think it's a big win, even though Ole Miss, I don't think it's a very good basketball team, but I think it says a lot about the squad and potentially the rest of the season, Daryl. But we got to talk about our friends at the Henry Service Company. Ole Miss, what about Ole Sis system that you have. Henry Service is all about keeping your old system running and functioning at peak efficiency. But when that time comes that you need a replacement, they have your back as well. That's not a fun process, but of our friends at Henry Service Company make it as easy and smooth as it could possibly be. They aren't just a service company, but they provide replacement and new systems as well. So whether it's a heater, an AC, a water heater, or even a new electrical system, Henry's is the only company that you need to know. So if you're in the Montgomery Tri-County area, you need to check out our friends at Henry Service Co. They are a heating and air conditioning company, but they are also an everything company, service and sales. Ask them about tankless water heater programs and all kinds of other things. Be sure to call them at 334-288-2700. That's Alabama license number 00021. Daryl, where are you in regards to, okay, this team was probably also like mentally down a few points anytime they leave Neville Arena until they won again because of the catastrophe that happened in Athens last week. I think it was several possessions where mentally they had to overcome that, and beating an Ole Miss team on the road in a place that's been kind of weird for different SEC teams over the last few seasons in Oxford. The arena seems like eerily quiet as well. To me, I think it's huge. I think it's absolutely huge because you look at the schedule coming up, Daryl. You got Mississippi State on Saturday. I don't think they're very good either. But then you go to Baton Rouge and you go to Columbia. And then not too long after that, you go to Morgantown to play West Virginia in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. And so you're about to have to do a lot of work on the road. You kind of checked that next box. You missed the one in Athens, which is a bummer. But you got the one tonight, and that's the first one that you needed to get.
Well, I think it's huge because anytime you lose on the road, the first thing you want to do is get that taste out of your mouth. And the only way you do that and gain confidence is by proving you can win on the road. Now, look, Georgia and Ole Miss have similar type atmospheres, and that's why I think it's big. It has been kind of a house of horrors. Ole Miss has been for Auburn. Not much energy in the arena tonight. You have to kind of create your own energy. There's a very strong possibility that you can come out flat in a game like this, because it's just dead. Auburn created its own emotion, enthusiasm, energy in an arena that was like a mausoleum. And Georgia's known for Stegman Coliseum's not, dynamic. When Auburn goes to Tennessee or Arkansas or Alabama, they don't have to worry about being excited or enthusiasm or played at a high level because of atmosphere. These are the games that are tough because it's dead. And so, and again, Auburn, Kermit Davis with that 1-3-1, Auburn has struggled against that. And what they were doing tonight, there's only two ways you can beat a zone like that. You can shoot yourself out of that zone by hitting threes, but the back cuts that Auburn was doing early, the screening at the top of the key and the back cuts, and they were finding people. And then Jalen Williams only had 12. But he was a textbook example of how you attack the zone with getting in the lane with that little they call it a teardrop jumper right in front of the free throw line, Zach. He would bank it or that's how you attack the zone. That's why I think this was big as well, because they found schematically a way to kind of put that to bed a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. As far as other guys that stepped up, Zep Jasper, a quiet 3 points, 1 of 2 from the floor. His only shot was a 3-pointer. Played 20 minutes, scored 3 points, and his plus minus was for most of the game it was second highest on the team. But Yohan at the very end of it, Yohan Traore, 9 minutes plus 9. I'll take that.
He had a nice little basket in the paint, and then he was starting to feel good about himself, and he shot a 3 from Memphis in the corner that was way downtown, and it wasn't what it needed to be. But I like the minutes that he gave, and I have to say this: Dylan Cardwell got pulled out of the game early and got his rear end absolutely chewed by Bruce Pearl, and they were just 2 dunks, but one of which was, in my opinion, just a lift, an emotion. Auburn plays and thrives off of emotion, and that kind of, when he was coming off the court and you could see Auburn getting pretty fired up, those things matter. So I liked that as well. I tell you, I'll go back to the thing you said about Zep. I know we say it time and time again, but I really, and especially with Chris Moore going down, I really want to see him shoot the basketball more.
Yeah, but like with the way Wendell and Janai and Allen were scoring throughout the game, like I mean, when other guys are scoring, I'm cool with it. It's just when everybody's cold, I'm like, Zep, you got to try something. You got to attempt more shots.
Yeah, I just think you need to do it enough so that when those guys do get cold, you're comfortable doing it. You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
You feel like you've been there, done that kind of thing. Yeah,
I get it. All right, so Chris Moore goes down.
Chris Moore or Chris Brown? What the heck was that? Did you hear that all game?
No.
The announcer kept calling him Chris Brown. I thought he was going to sing.
I thought he was going
to break out.
I had to mute the broadcast.
I was waiting for "Run It" out of that song, or I was like, "What are they doing?" You guys are pretty impressed that 54-year-old dude knows that song.
It's crazy how hip you are.
Yeah, I try to be. But she called him Chris Brown like 5 times, and the play-by-play guy was trying to be nice and gracious. Well, really, I shouldn't say anything about saying somebody by the wrong name. But let's just go on to the next. Let's go on.
You call me the wrong name all the time. I did a full show about Brian Battle earlier this week. Whoever that is.
I remember that instead of you said a Batty. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, that's okay. That's okay. But yeah, Chris Brown going down early. he came back. There was a wrap kind of around his right arm. The saw it was officially ruled as like a right shoulder injury. That's a concern. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Like we
shoulder
need Chris Moore going forward. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, shoulder injuries, especially it's his, shooting shoulder and the way he plays, how physical he is, offensive rebounding and all that. I hope it's just something, that can get with treatment and ice and healing and stuff like that, or just a little bit of rest. But that looked a little bit scary when he came up and it was kind of hanging like it was. So
yeah, I mean, it went down hard, and it looked bad right away. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. The silver lining is it gave Allen Flanigan an opportunity to shine. But after that, it's like, I don't know, just kind of in the thick of SEC play, you need Chris Moore. Chris Moore's a fighter. He's a fighter on this team. He's not vocal, but like if you're stuck in an alleyway and you're about to have to fight somebody, like Chris Moore is the dude on this team that you want. And I think that's
he'll do whatever it takes. He does all the dirty work in the trenches, offensive rebounding, anything. He's a glue guy.
That's right. Everybody drop their favorite thing about Daryl in the live chat. This is fun. This is fun. People giving Daryl Dapper some love tonight, and I am here for it. Moving forward, Daryl, I mean, what's your biggest takeaways from this game as far as how it impacts what you want to see moving forward? Let's look specifically at Mississippi State coming to Neville Arena this Saturday night.
Well, I think what it does is what I mentioned kind of early on. You want to stack these wins, right? So you want to prove that Saturday night wasn't a fluke. And the great feeling you got and the confidence you got from that, you want to sustain that and continue to build upon that. So when you win like this on the road, almost double digits, and play well and shoot the basketball well and have guys step up, I think it just continues to make you get this good feeling about where you are in the season and how good you feel about yourself as a basketball team. You're stacking wins. Auburn's 3-1 in the SEC now. Okay. You can take anything. I mean, top 21, take care of business Saturday night at home against Mississippi State, come out of that game, and now you're rolling again. And that's what you have to start to put these little mini streaks together. You don't want the roller coaster. Win one, lose one. You got to steal a couple on the road. That's why I think it's so important. It's streaks. And you have to start it, you got to get 2, right? To get any kind of streak, you got to start with 2.
Something I always look at and something I think is valuable. So Mississippi State plays tomorrow. They didn't play tonight. So Auburn gets an extra day of rest, which I think is valuable. And tomorrow night, Mississippi State is in Athens. And then they got to go back to Starkganistan, and then they go to Neville Arena on this weekend. So I love that too. I mean, that's just a lot of stress, shorter turnaround, and that usually benefits the home team already. But with an extra night of rest and prep, I think Auburn's in a good spot to outplay Mississippi State on Saturday. That's
a great point because it was a quicker turnaround for Auburn. Play Saturday, then come back on the road Tuesday to play. You've struggled. So that's another reason why it's such a big win, because you've kind of got that behind you, and on the short rest week on a road game, you get the W. It's like a +2. I mean, I remember even when I first started watching college basketball when I was young, I remember an announcer saying something. He said, when you win at home, it's like a +1. And when you win on the road, it's like a +2. You're getting an extra. It's like you're getting an extra, percentage in standings, even though you're not. It psychologically, that's what it is. And so that's why I think it's big, especially on a short week.
Yeah, Wendell Green in his post games talking about how it felt good to be perfect 11-11 from the free throw line. That's hard to do. That's hard to do in a game. I don't care how good
it really is. It is very hard to do, and it wins basketball games for you when your point guard is doing that.
Yeah, I mean, how many times has Auburn lost a 2 or 3 possession game and they're like 70% from the charity stripe? It's like, goodness gracious. So, and that's something they've kind of struggled with this year. And just overall shooting percentage seems to be going better. They shot, let's see, they shot 49% from the floor and they shot 28% from 3, which actually isn't great, but it's better than what we've seen.
Well, and look what when you break those stats down, Auburn was trailing by 1 at halftime. I think they shot like 69%, 68%, something like that in the second half field goal percentage. And I think they were over 50% from behind 3 because they only hit 1 3 in the first half.
They were right at 50% from 3, 60.7 from the floor in the second half.
See, look at that. That's like Rain Man that I was able to pull that up. But
that's pretty good.
That's the key. When you're down 1 on the road at halftime, and then you come out the second half and do that, you win game. I mean, that's big. That's adjustments. That's that 1-3. Okay, what do we need to do to combat this 1-3-1? Oh, let's come out and scorch the nets in the second half and put this team away and get some separation. To me, that's even a really, really healthy sign.
Yeah. All right, folks, flood the live chat with questions or comments or observations. We'll get to that now. Several people have mentioned since we've been live, Daryl, about officiating, and I don't love commenting about officiating. I just don't. But a lot of no calls. There were several times where Janai Broome just got absolutely destroyed. And there's like, we're going to look the other way. And so that's the fact that they were able to kind of overcome that and win anyway. That was nice.
Well, here's the telling stat. At one point, I looked in, Auburn had fouled 14 times and Ole Miss had fouled 9. Yeah. And then here came the makeup calls, even it up. And Auburn ended up with 17 personal fouls and Ole Miss ended up with 17 personal fouls. Now, at some point during the game, that's no consolation because Janai Broome got, punched in the face and there was no call. And then Auburn looked like, they were getting ticky-tack fouls called on them. But at the end of the night, they started evening it up. Now, of course, Ole Miss had to foul late, too, under a minute. I think probably 3 of those fouls were because they had to foul down double digits. So, but that's great that you play through that. I'm proud of Auburn playing through that and being able to overcome that adversity because that's another thing it's a building block, in my opinion.
All right, to both Sam and Jesse pointing out that Auburn only shot 14 threes tonight, which is lower than a typical Bruce Pearl team, which I'm fine with. We kind of called them out about shot selection earlier in the season, and they're actually adjusting and doing it. You don't typically see that from a Bruce Pearl team.
Against Georgia, they shot 28, and you and I did this show, Zach, and said, my God, if you're not hitting them, just cut that in half. It's exactly what they did. And they showed a stat with about 5 minutes left to go in the game with Auburn's points in the paint, and it was just ungodly, the percentage of their total points that were in the paint, and they dominated. And guess what? If that's a winning formula, don't go away from it. Don't be stupid. Why reinvent the wheel? They shot it 14 times, got a ton of points in the paint, and went on the road and almost won double digits. It's not rocket science. If that's what works, stick with it.
Let's circle back to SEMO just for a second. Harley asked, wasn't able to watch the game. Any thoughts on the SEMO injury and severity? It didn't look great, just being honest. Like the fact that he didn't play at all and they had it kind of wrapped up when he came back out. Like, I bet he misses some time. I am no doctor or trainer, but I bet he misses some time, which is not good.
It happened early on in the game. He got an offensive rebound and was trying to do the putback and looked like he got hammered.
No call, by the way.
No call. Fell kind of awkwardly, and when they went back down to play defense, he was motioning to the bench. Well, he was bent over. I thought he was tying his shoe, and the referee came over to him, and then that's when when he stood straight up, Zach, his left, his right arm was kind of like dangling. So
it's not good.
It's not good. But he got hammered. That's what started it. Offensive rebound got hacked from behind. No call.
A few people mentioning KD. We haven't talked about KD yet. Harvey, I'll highlight your comment while I pull up KD's stats. KD Johnson, 4 points in 20 minutes of play. He was 2 of 5 from the floor. He missed his only 3-pointer that he took, and he missed both shots from the charity stripe. I think that may be the worst thing, going 0 for 2 and missing both of those shots. But I don't know. Like, if you told me KD Johnson only shot it 5 times, and he was cold that night, I think I would take that. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. If he realizes his limitations and understands and plays within himself and says, okay, I'm just not on tonight, so I'm going to, distribute the basketball, find my teammates, and not shoot it as much, then that's the self-awareness is what you need. He did have a couple of nice drives to the basket that I thought were what, typical KD when he slashes, and then he got called, he got fouled and missed both free throws. So as long as he plays within himself and realizes that, it might not be his night, that's big.
Yeah, I'm actually going to defend KD a little bit. Not that I thought he was outstanding, but he had 5 shots and one of them was from deep. I think that's the right amount of, I think that's the right clip that I want him shooting. You know what I mean?
The problem I have, I'm not defending him because the announcer said that he was giddy and excited that Georgia won the national championship, that he was beaming. Come on, man. You're playing for Auburn. You can't be excited about that. So he dropped a little level to me on that situation.
Were they being?
No, it was real. She said that he was in a great mood and was on cloud 9. And he said, I'm an Atlanta kid. I was excited about Georgia. And I thought, what the heck?
Interesting.
No. Yeah. So there you go.
Don't like that.
Bookmark that one.
Well, he helped them win in basketball too.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Sadly. A lot of people being pretty hard on KD, which I get. As far as his basketball play tonight, if you told me KD Johnson shot it 5 times and only one of them was a 3, I will take that every single night for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and he didn't throw up anything wild around the rim either. Remember, he'd been doing that the last couple of games. He was a little bit more under control going to the basket, so that was good as well.
Yep. Let's see. Janai Broom, 4th consecutive double-double. Impact of that long-term, Daryl, is what?
Well, it just shows his maturation and his growth, Zach, as far as getting comfortable in the SEC. Remember, that was one of the things we had a question mark about when he was beating up on these mid-majors because he played for a mid-major. So we're like, okay, he's used to that. He's used to trouncing mid-majors. Let's see what happens when SEC play comes along. And he has elevated his game.
Yeah.
So the impact of him adjusting to SEC play and now being a go-to guy for Auburn and raising his level, that's my go-to that's my takeaway from that. It's huge.
All right. I want the live viewers to play along with this game as well, Daryl. I want the record. Let's predict the record for Auburn's next 5 games after what we've seen so far in conference play. Mississippi State is at home.
Okay.
LSU's on the road.
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina's on the road.
Okay.
Texas A&M's at home.
Okay.
That's 4, and then you go to West Virginia to play an early Saturday game for the Big 12 SEC Challenge.
I'm leaning towards 4-1, and the only loss being on the road in Morgantown, which is a very, very difficult place to play, very hostile environment.
Well, from a seeding standpoint, that's the one you want to lose, right?
Correct.
If you go 4-1 and you had to pick the loss, you take the non-SEC game. So you think Auburn wins their next 4? So you think Auburn beats Mississippi State, LSU on the road, South Carolina on the road, and Texas A&M at home? You feel like that's wow.
Yep.
What's the narrative around this team if they do that?
That they are playing to the level and expectation of what I think the bar was for them this year, especially with the way they started and what their record was and how long they went into the season before they got that first loss. I think if they do that and look at the core that they had coming back, even though they lost 2 generational talents, If Auburn does that, then you're saying, okay, they're playing to the level that I think Auburn fans and some people that predicted them to finish 4th in the SEC preseason, that's the level they're playing to.
No, I think if they go 4-0 in their next 4 SEC games, they've got a really good shot to be a top 4 conference team.
Yeah, and again, West Virginia is one of those places. I'm just telling you. I mean, it is hard and it is difficult and it is loud, and the student section there they are absolutely rabid. And they remind me a lot of Arkansas fans, but they're closer to the court than Bud Walton, and they're a little bit less refined, is what I'm going to say. Having grown up an hour from there, they are a different breed. Yeah, and Auburn football, experienced that firsthand. Playing in Morgantown.
I get it. All right, so Trey says 5-0. C-Red says 4-1. Robbie Latham says 3-2. Storm says 3-2 with losses to LSU and West Virginia. That LSU game, I don't feel good about it. Daryl. YouTube user says 2-3. War Eagle Wyoming says 4-1. Scandalous says 3-2. Clay Sharp says 5-0. James says 5-0. Ledbetter says 3-2. G2G says 5-0. A few more 3-2s. So yeah, we're kind of all over the place.
I'd take 3-2. I mean, I would be happy or content with 3-2 right now. I'm
okay with 3-2 if one of them is West Virginia.
Right, exactly. I don't want it to be now. If you lose 2 SEC games but go on the road and beat a West Virginia team that I think is in the top 25 in Ken Palm, but I don't want to drop that. I don't want to have 3 SEC losses, right? And that's when you're starting, and then you got to go play your really tough stretch of SEC games coming up behind this next 5. So I'll take 3-2 and be happy with it if one of those is West Virginia. Absolutely.
Auburn's been pretty they've been pretty solid in that in the SEC Big 12 challenge.
Well, they smoked Oklahoma and then lost to Baylor, right? They lost to Baylor. That was a really, really good Baylor team that almost won the national championship with Sharif, and they had Sharif Cooper. They lost that game, but they beat Oklahoma last year. Was that they smoked Oklahoma last year.
Yeah, didn't we play who did we play before that? We were left out one year.
Yep.
Which was comical. Didn't we play like Kansas State or something? Am I making that up?
It might have been Kansas State, or maybe it was Oklahoma State. I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank.
I think it was Oklahoma State.
Yeah, because they had Travis Ford was their head coach, the old Kentucky guard. So there you go.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I'm trying to look it up. It's not an easy look up, so that's okay. Daryl, thank you so much as always, my friend.
You're welcome. This was fun.
For all of our live chat folks that contribute to the show, thank you so much. And for those just watching, that is perfectly fine too. This has been Locked on Auburn's The Henry Service Company post-game show. Be sure to give our friends a call for any HVAC or plumbing, electrical. If you need help with your water heater situation, they've got you covered. Give them a call, 334-288-2700, license number 00021. Daryl, you and I will be doing a 3-hour show.
We're getting tomorrow. The band back together again like we did during the summer. Yeah, we'll be doing a 3-hour show on the Max Roundtable tomorrow. Simulcast in Auburn and in Montgomery, 107.5 in Montgomery. What is it, 106.7 in Auburn? So check us out, guys, Zach and I, for 3 hours.
Yeah, and if you live out of town and want to listen live or you want the link, just reach out to us on Discord or Twitter. We'll get that to you.
We'll have some fun.
Well. Yep, for sure. All right, we'll be back. I guess it's a later game on Saturday night. We will be back to recap that. Hopefully it's another win, and hopefully we can continue booging, talking Auburn basketball. Once again, thank you to our friends at the Henry Service Company. Give them a call, 334-288-2700. This has been Locked on Auburn.